Top 5 biggest first-round upsets in the last 10 years of the NHL playoffs. At the 5 spot, I've got the Seattle Kraken defeating the Colorado Avalanche in 7 games in 2023. On one side, you had the Seattle Kraken. They were the first wildcard team in the Western Conference that season, made the playoffs in just their second season after missing the year before, and they were going up against the Colorado Avalanche, who were the defending Stanley Cup champions, and once again won the Central Division. It was a very back-and-forth series. The Kraken ended up winning Game 7 2-1, and the story of that game and the entire series was Philip Grubauer, the goalie for the Seattle Kraken, who was the former goaltender of the Avalanche, as he stopped 34 of 35 shots to win Game 7 for the Kraken. At number 4, I've got when the Montreal Canadiens beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games in 2021. The Leafs had finished first in the Canadian division that season, while Montreal finished fourth to set up the first-round matchup between the two rivals, and it looked like the Leafs were going to exercise their first-round demons. They went up 3-1 to start the series. But overtime of Game 5 was where the series would take a turn, as the Leafs had an offensive zone giveaway that would lead to a 2-0 going back the other way, where Cole Caulfield would set up Nick Suzuki, who would send the series to Game 6, where the Habs would once again be victorious in overtime to set up a winner-take-all Game 7. And Montreal would go on to win Game 7 3-1 to complete the comeback. Carey Price was a brick wall in that Game 7, as he was for the rest of the playoffs, as Montreal would end up going on to the Stanley Cup final that year. At the 3 spot, I've got Nashville's sweep of the Chicago Blackhawks in 2017. That core for the Chicago Blackhawks of Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, and Duncan Keith had won 3 Stanley Cups, and they set themselves up nicely going into the playoffs to win a 4th one, as they finished first in the Western Conference that season to set up a first-round matchup against Nashville. However, the Predators stunned the Blackhawks, winning the first 2 games in Chicago and shut out Chicago in both of those games. Pekka Rinne was just too good in this series. The Preds would then win Game 3 in overtime and win Game 4 at home 4-1 to complete the sweep, as they shocked the hockey world. At the 2 spot, it's the Florida Panthers defeating the Boston Bruins in 7 games in 2023. The Bruins had set an NHL record for most wins during the regular season with 65, and would jump out to a 3-1 lead against the Panthers through the first 4 games of the series. But much like that Leafs and Habs series from 2021, it was overtime of Game 5 where the series would take a turn, as Linus Ullmark had a giveaway behind his own goal that would lead to Matthew Tkachuk burying it to extend the series to Game 6, where the Panthers would win a high-scoring Game 6 to set up Game 7 between the two teams. And Game 7 itself was a roller coaster, as the Panthers jumped out to a 2-0 lead. The Bruins would then score 3 unanswered to take the lead in the 3rd period, but with 1 minute remaining, Brandon Montour would tie things up for the Panthers to send things to overtime, where Carter Verhaeghe would win the series for Florida to complete the 3-1 comeback and upset the greatest regular season team in NHL history. And at number 1, it's Columbus sweeping Tampa in 2019. The Lightning that season were a star-studded team. They had the Vezina winner in Vasilevsky, the Hart Trophy winner in Nikita Kucherov. They tied the NHL record for most wins in the regular season with 62, which would later be broken by the 2023 Bruins, who were just on this list. And they were going up against a team in the Columbus Blue Jackets who had never won a playoff series. Game 1 started out as everyone expected it to. The Lightning jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first period, but Columbus would score 4 unanswered to win Game 1 by a score of 4-3. And the Blue Jackets took that momentum from that Game 1 victory into the next 3 games of the series, as the Jackets outscored Tampa by a score of 15-5 over the next 3 games to complete the sweep over the Lightning. Had the Blue Jackets won a back-and-forth series between the two teams in 7 games would have been shocking enough, but to sweep the Lightning was absolutely absurd. But as always, leave a like, drop a follow on the Armchair Athletes, and let me know in the comments what you think is the biggest upset of the NHL playoffs in the last 10 years.